What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about the PS5 Pro yet again. And look, I want to say what I'm going to say. We're going to talk about some regional pricing. I'm going to get a little mad, and then I'm probably going to shut up about it, right? I think everybody has the right to their opinion. I know there's some people that said they're getting it. There's some people that hate it and would never get it. And then there's people that attack each other for making their own decisions. And as we constantly say, or as I constantly say, literally on this channel, that's not me. I'm not here to yell at you if you do or do not get the PS5 Pro. It's your money, and you can do whatever you want with it, okay? But with that being said, I do want to just talk about the regional pricing, and then I'll shut up about it probably permanently going forward. So, look, as we talked about, I think the price is too high. You look at the inflation, you look at the past PlayStation consoles, all that jazz. There's a lot. Even IGN, I think, did basically an article where they broke down the price of every single console, like, known to man. They actually did a pretty good job. So, you know, that's known. You know what I mean? Everybody knows that this thing is very expensive and, you know, second to the PS3. And and as I said in my past video, right, like, you're really, when you're going up with the only other console that had massive backlash at launch, that's not a good thing, right? These two consoles, PS5 Pro, PS3, both are getting destroyed, you know, leading into it coming out. Now, the PS3 rebounded, so hopefully, you know, we could get like a redemption arc from PlayStation here with the Pro. I don't know if that'll happen. New leadership, management, all that jazz compared to like 2006, right? So, all right, the one thing I want to talk about, though, is, well, it's $699.99, right? So in the U.S., now that's U.S., and, you know, you got to buy the stand because if you want the thing to actually stand up, that's extra, and the disc drive, if you want the disc drive, obviously that's extra as well. Selling out on Amazon, phenomenal. Okay, so compared to Japan, though, right? $700 in the U.S., that's fine, but when you go to Japan, $840 is what the conversion is to that. Genki even says Japanese PlayStation gamers are being extorted with the PS5 Pro. That's just amazing. $699 should equal about 100,000 yen at today's exchange rate, not 120,000 yen. That's 20,000 yen or $140 more than the U.S. price. Tom Warren says the U.K. pricing for the PS5 Pro is beyond ridiculous. The Pro plus the disc drive works out to about $1,045 US in the UK. Now, in the US, it's as little as $818 with sales tax in many states for the same console plus disc drive, nearly $230 difference. So, I mean, that one is just unbelievable. I saw some people talking, I think, about Australia as well, that one is just like beyond insane. But even those two alone, right? Like you got $230 and you got $140 more in Japan. And you know, one interesting thing, like one fun fact, right? We're always talking about, like, well, what happened to the Japanese market, really for games in general, but, you know, I guess specifically even PlayStation, if you want to say that. Well, maybe it's because they're being priced out, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know this for sure because I'm not Japanese and I don't live there, never have. But, you know, like maybe back in the day when PlayStation was cooking with the PS2 and stuff, like maybe it was just better back then. I don't know that for sure. But, you know, it's interesting, though, right? Because you look at some of the, you look at like Japanese sales of certain games and it's like, man, where are they? Like, what are they doing? And it's like, well, maybe it's because not just the console, like we're literally just talking about the PS5 Pro. The fun fact is, though, this entire time it's been bad. They just raised the price of the base price of the PS5 in Japan. Now it's more expensive. The DualSense controller. Games are expensive. Games are more expensive in other countries, even with the conversion rate to the US than in the US. Like I don't know why. I imagine it's got something to do with shipping, but that could also be fake. Considering, actually, I believe in the IGN article I was pulling these tweets from, they talk about that shipping, like if you're in the UK, actually listen up to this. If you buy a PS5 Pro in the US and you ship it to the UK, so like you find a friend or something, like a third party, you know, a broker, and you do that, that actually is still cheaper than buying it where you are. You might save like 20, 30, 40 pounds. And it's like, oh my God, you know, it's not much. It's not like you're going to save, you know, 200-300, but you could save a little and you could get like 5 cups of coffee, or maybe not even. I think coffee's too expensive nowadays. So that's just where we're at. You know, you think people are freaking out about the US prices, or just the pricing in general, again, compared to inflation and looking back at what the PS4 Pro cost. And, you know, the other fun thing is like, you know, when the PS4 Pro came out, they dropped the price of the PS4. Now, I think they're doing like the refurbished thing, which is cheaper, but to me, I kind of think it's actually quite funny that you're not even dropping, like in Japan, as I mentioned earlier, right? So the PS5 Pro comes out, and instead of dropping the price of the PS5 by like 50 or $100, right? Nothing major, just like $50. They're actually raising it. So the PS5, depending on where you are in the world, might actually cost more. Or you could get the even more expensive PS5 Pro if you feel like it, and then get the disc drive, and then get, if you want it. I know the disc drive is interesting because from what I've seen, and like we know this, right? Many people don't buy games physically. It's like an 80-20 split. So like while I might complain about the disc drive, or it's just fun to throw it in there, right? Like it's just extra money to go along with the expensive PS5 Pro. It's not for everybody, and actually most people on planet Earth that are getting the Pro would not. I know the disc drive's selling out for some reason, but it's probably scalpers, but most people that are getting the PS5 Pro are not getting the disc drive. I fully, like 1,000% believe that. So yeah, just a real blast. And just to end it on a good note, or even better note, is, you know, again, like I mentioned earlier, analysts are saying that, and it's analysts, it's just predictions. It's not like they didn't have somebody on the inside saying this, right? But it seems like the reason why it's $700 and the PlayStation can get away with this is that there's no competition. And it's like, that's just fantastic, right? Like that's like, you know, I never wanted Microsoft to buy Activision Blizzard, right? Like I was against it the whole way. I would prefer everybody stays independent and everybody stays separate, okay? With that being said, it's like, okay, competition, all that jazz. Like everybody's gone through, you know, the rigmarole of talking about that acquisition. But, you know, through the court cases and all that stuff, it's like, well, Xbox is still in like a distant third place, right? And it's like, is anybody actually in competition with PlayStation? Because Nintendo's kind of off in their own land, right? And then you have PlayStation in their own thing, and really Xbox is in their own thing too. So if they don't perceive each other as competition, which Xbox has flat out said they don't perceive Nintendo or Sony as competition, whether that's true or not, at least they said it, right? So it might be true, and then if it is true, that's actually more scary, right? Because, you know, it's been said a long time, right, that if, you know, Xbox drops out of like the physical, like the console making market, right, which I think they might eventually do, maybe in the next generation, and maybe PlayStation keeps going. And, you know, like maybe they're doing what's best for Microsoft, right? And maybe, and I've said before, I think Xbox would probably work better as a publisher versus a console maker. And I think that's the path they're going anyway. It doesn't even really matter what I think. That's what they're doing. So, okay, that's, you know, and again, like that's what's best for them. So I'd say go for it, right? More the merrier. But we're actually kind of seeing it in action potentially, right? Where this is what happens when you don't have competition. This is what happens when only you have like one main, you know, extreme gamer, you know, console on the market. If you don't count the Switch, I mean, the Switch is like a different demographic almost, right? So like when you only have, say, PlayStation, and they perceive themselves as like the undisputed king and no competition. Xbox says they're not even in competition with PlayStation. This is kind of what happens. You can get that, you know, I'm not saying like they're going like $200 more, but they're probably going at least $50. Like, could they have done $650 or even maybe $600? I think they could. And I saw people even saying like they break even on the $500 one, right? Like that's they don't really make a lot of money off the PS5. It is literally break even. So it's like, could you do $600? Could you do $599? Even with the Pro, you might make $20, $30, $40. Like if they were in competition, they would do that because you can, you know what I mean? You can take the little gains and you don't need the major gains because you're just trying to compete with other people or other companies. But you know, that's something to think about, right? Because it's like if this is true, if it's true, and they don't see competition, we're probably getting gypped as a consumer base at least $50, at least, if not $100. And it's like, and that's only because of the way the market has played out, that's just fantastic, isn't it? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.